So let's go ahead and grab your yoga block and get started. We're going to start on our back today, and we're going to use the yoga block as a spacer between our ankles. So I'm turning it the wide way like this, and then I have it just above the ankle bones. If you don't have a yoga block or the books are going to be too heavy, just keep your feet this wide apart, okay? So we're going to lay all the way down on our backs. Take your hands, interlace them behind the base of the skull, and we're going to lengthen and lift the head on an inhale, just so that the base of the shoulder blades come up and off the mat. Making sure we haven't pressed the low back onto the mat. We want the core to stabilize the pelvis where it is. On your next exhale, use your psoas, your suspender muscles, talking to your inner thighs to float the legs up into a tabletop position. We're going to do a little pattern here. So what we're going to do is a little half circle to the right. So my left hip picked up, I tipped towards the right. I'm going to sweep through center and bring it back to tabletop. We're going to do a full extension in the middle. We're going to inhale as the legs go long, exhale as we bring it in. And now we're going to inhale and do a half circle around the other side. Keep working at your own pace. We want to keep the ribs relatively quiet. We're doing a straight leg extension in the middle. We're going to keep the ribs quiet, but we're rotating the pelvis as we tip the legs to the side, targeting through the waistline and the low belly. If you give that yoga block a little bit of intention in, you're going to help find the inner line of the body, the deep abdominals, and the pelvic floor. Keep working. If you don't have a yoga block, everyone's moving at their own pace. You're just doing this exercise with no yoga block, but same range of movement, and it would look like this. Try to keep the space as if you had an imaginary yoga block between the legs. As we extend, if this is not great on your low back, don't fully extend. Keep your legs with a soft bend. We're exhaling as we move to the side. And we're going to inhale as the legs go long. Keeping the head and shoulders lifted. Let's go for one more to the right. Lifting up the left hip, sweeping around, the legs extend a bit. Bring it back through center. Inhale, legs reach long. Exhale, back through center. This is going to be our last one. Tipping the legs to the left. Right hip picks up just a little bit. Bring it all the way in. With control, we're going to set the legs down onto the floor. All right, guys, go ahead and slide that yoga block out. We're going to sit on it. So yesterday, we did a little mermaid leg sweep. And if you were not elevated, I'm going to ask you today to elevate yourself because we're going to go into a little progression. So I'm sitting on the yoga block on my left hip. You can go ahead and sit on the books if you do have them. So I'd like everyone to be lifted up, even if it's kind of a firm pillow. Anything to get you off the floor a little bit is going to help us here. We're going to sit on the left hip, right knee is bent behind us. Now I'm going to lean as little as possible as I float the right leg up and off the floor. So knee, shin, and foot are up off the floor. Nothing's touching the floor on the right side. I'm going to center my torso as best I can, trying not to lean over that left hip. The left leg is actively imprinting downbound. It's working hard to stabilize. Here we go. On an inhale, move from the femur head as we swivel through and bring the leg forward. My right sitting bone is level now with the left, but it's hovering over free space. It's not touching the ground. On the exhale, we're going to unwind, try not to touch the floor, and bring it back. One more time like that. Swivel the femur head. We're improving functionality of the hip. My toe just touched, did yours dig? So if you want to keep that toe lifted, keep that focus happening, even though we're moving from the hip. Here comes the progression, guys. As we sweep the leg forward on an inhale this time, I'm going to invite you to extend your leg all the way long. Aren't you glad I gave you that yoga block now? And go ahead and fold the knee as you bring it back. That's not for you today. Keep the knee bent how we started. Extra challenge is to extend that leg forward. And then we're going to exhale as we bring it back. If you're looking for more cardio effort, you can always float the arms up and overhead. These get real hot real quick through that hip. I got more than one message after class about this one yesterday, and so I decided we'd do a progression of it today. Here we go. We're just going for a few more. Really find that lift and length. Try not to sink into that left hip. Think about lifting out of your left hip as we work. Let's go for 2 more. We're inhaling as we lengthen forward, the hamstrings working with the abs to deliver the leg forward. This is our last extension forward. We're inhaling here. We're gonna hold it back, hold it all the way back, good. We're gonna arc over, keeping that leg lifted. Use your ribs and your abdominals to lift your body back up. My leg is still raised. Left hand lightly touches down. Fan the right ribs. Don't shove from the ground. Lift from the core as we raise. Your leg is still up. It's an isometric challenge, guys. Exhale as we arc and fan. Inhale as we bring it up. A couple more here. Hold that right leg. I know it's burning, -2. Exhale as we arc. Inhale as we lift. This is going to be our last one. Exhale as we arc. Inhale as we lift with control. Bring that right leg down. All right, let's go ahead and stay on that yoga block. If you don't have one, you're just going to be down on the floor, or you can be on the books. And we're going to go into a sideline position. So my bottom hip, my left hip is going to be on this yoga block. My left forearm is down on the ground, and my legs reach long. So the idea is to get your body like a pencil. So look down at your body and make sure you haven't let your feet come in front of you. We're going to have our body just like a pencil. We're going to lengthen our head long away from our toes. And now we're going to go into a double leg lift. So we don't want to watch the ribs drop to the floor. They're going to stay lifted. The bottom ribs are going to stay lifted. We're going to reach the inner thighs so long that our legs hover just a little bit. And then we bring it back down. We're going to reach the inner thighs beyond the soles of the feet as we raise up. And then we lower down. You can reach the right arm long, lengthening and reaching, and then bring it down. But notice, guys, that I'm not touching the floor. I'm never touching the floor with the feet. If you can keep that elevated, that is ideal. That's going to get you the best results. Watch your bottom ribs. You can glance this way. We don't want to see this happen. We don't want the ribs to drop and the waistline to shorten. We want everything to stay super long the whole time. Lengthening and reaching. We're going to do 2 more here, then we're going to change it up. And let's hold the legs. So we're back in that pencil position. You want to get your head in line with the spine if you've allowed it to tip upward. And now we're going to move from the upper inner thighs. So we're going to scissor the legs just about as wide as our mat and then bring them back together with intention. We're going to scissor the legs and bring them back together with intention. Imagine you have a magnet on the outer thighs. So they're magneting in, really connecting you to the middle line of the body. Lift those bottom ribs. Head is in line with the spine. And let's go for 4 more here. Scissoring the upper inner thighs. That right hip should really be feeling some sincere effort here. Here we go. We're going to go for 2 more. And this is going to be our last one. And bring it all the way in. All right, we're going to rise up onto our feet now. And we're going to stand on the yoga block or the books. Those will be stable for us to stand on. Okay, so we're going to go into a little hip dip. We're going to have our right foot securely on the yoga block and all 5 toes showing straight forward. Once you're there, get your weight into that right foot. Your toes might slide off the edge a little bit, that's okay. Then we're going to float the left leg off the floor, left foot on the floor. You can see my foot is flexed, and the idea is to keep your belt line really level. So we don't want to hang out in this standing hip. That inner thigh comes up alongside the spine and out the crown of the head. Now we're ready to move. Now the femur, the thigh bone we always talk about, going through the pelvis, it's going to hold still. We're going to roll the pelvis over, and you can see that now my left heel dropped, my left hip dropped, but I didn't dump out to the side. And now I'm going to draw myself up via the inner thighs back to start. Melting down, the femur head rolls over, the pelvis rolls over the femur head on the right side and then levels out. Keep that as your focus. Rather than thinking about this hip dropping, think about your right side. I really want you to visualize that dome of the pelvis like this, and it is rolling over the femur head that's not moving, and then it's being brought back up by the inner thighs and the deep abdominals. If you're feeling good about your balance, you can float your arms out to a wide V. So let's work a slightly different angle. So we're going to lower down, and then we're going to inhale as as we bring it up. Keep working for the last few. Please check in with the back side of your knee. I'm going to show you from a profile. Check in with the back side of that standing knee. We don't want to dump into that joint because then we're just resting in the joint and not activating our muscles in a really meaningful way. We want to think about the inner thigh coming up. You can see that I'm shaking straight away just with that thought. And we want to find some breath in the back side of that knee. You should feel a lot more activation and shaking rather than locking out and hanging out in the joints. All right. Let's go for one more. Level everything out. I'm going to stay in a profile. Level everything out. We're going to hold here. Everything's level. All right, guys. Now we are going to lengthen the left leg behind you. The left leg stays long. Hold. Bend the right knee a lot as you bow forward. You can always touch a wall, a couch, a counter next to you to assist you with your balance. Yeah? From here, now we're going to lower down and bring it up. So now the femur head and the pelvis are kind of rolling one around the other. So I'm keeping a light touch on the wall next to me. You can always choose that, or you can always choose to have both of your arms alongside the ears, plugging down into your middle back, reaching that left inner thigh up towards the sky. So you want to spiral that left inner thigh up towards the sky. Let's go for two more. It's really wiggly up here. I'm with you guys. This is our last one. Isometric hold for 8, 7, navel up and in between the shoulder blades for 5, 4, 3, 2, and go ahead, inhale, bring it all the way up. All right, guys, let's go ahead and go into a squat with that yoga block. We're gonna use it like a spacer. If you have a ball close by, instead of the yoga block, you can use that in between your knees, or in between your thighs rather. So whatever you have, the idea is to space your knees apart to align with big toe, second toe, right with the hip socket. Here we go, all 10 toes shining straight forward. We're gonna exhale as we crease at the hips and bow down. Inhale as we bring it up. We've talked about it before, but make sure you have equal weight across the soles of the feet. Let's hold this next one down. Navel draws up and in between the shoulder blades. And let's check in with your feet. Keep holding. I want you to draw an imaginary line from your big toe, second toe, under the foot to the outer heel. You might feel the arch of the foot lift, and you might feel the inner thighs trigger more, as well as activate all the way up to the belt line through the glutes. That's what we're after. All right, guys, we're gonna lengthen back an inch or so, and then bring it up. Are you squeezing? Keep going at that little small range of movement. Are you squeezing in on the yoga block or the ball? Knock it off. We're actually wanting to come away from the yoga block or the ball. That is going to more deeply activate the core and the inner thighs, pelvic floor, and deep abdominals. So guys, if you don't believe me, try it. Do a few of these little lower and raises, really imprinting in on whatever prop you have. And then try a few where you're really kind of floating away, almost dropping it. And then I bet you $10 that you found more work through the abdominals and the midline of the body, not squeezing. It's counterintuitive, I get it. Let's go for two more here. And we're gonna bring the arms along at our sides, hold and breathe. I want deep activation through the triceps. You can see that we can find that by drawing the elbows up into the triceps as the fingertips reach long. So they should feel really active, especially if you took class with me yesterday. Now we're gonna peel both heels off the floor 1 centimeter, just a tiny, tiny bit. Hold and breathe. Send them up 1 more millimeter. Hold and breathe, all 10 toes are active. Pick the heels up 1/2 inch. Why are you squeezing on that yoga block? Knock it off, give it breathing room. Pick the heels up 1/2 inch more. Where is your shakiest spot? Pick the heels up 1/2 inch more. I want you to return to wherever your shakiest spot is. It's different for everyone. So find your shaky, shaky spot. That's where we're gonna hold and breathe. And now from that shaky spot, we're gonna reach the pelvis back, sitting bones broaden, and then we're gonna lift just 1/2 inch. It's very small. And I would like you to think about going different depths every time, or different lengths. So if you can think about going 1 centimeter one time, and then the next time it's maybe 1 inch. We're keeping it small, but I don't want you to bounce through it, right? When we go 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch, we're bouncing through it. The idea is intentionally to find that shake, find that deep core connection. Let's go for 2 more here. This is going to be our last one. We're going to go into a plie. Heels melt down with intention. Inhale, gather, and rise all the way up. All right. We're going to use that yoga block just to give us some middle back connection. I like the 3 fingers forward, thumbs on top, and our pinkies below. We're going to step into a wide turned out position, holding low in 1 plie. So we're going to bend the knees a lot, get them aligned, big toe, second toe. On this hold, I'd like you to imprint in on the yoga block to broaden your middle back. So the idea is to add space between the shoulder blades. All right, guys, from here, we're going to inhale as we rotate, and exhale, base of the ribs returns us to start. Inhale as you rotate the other direction. Exhale, back to start. This time as we inhale towards the left, the right heel picks up, not the right waistline. That is going to stay level. And back to center. Now the left heel picks up as we rotate to the right, and back to center. Right heel picks up, inhale, add space between the vertebrae. Keep imprinting inbound on that yoga block. Inhale as we rotate the opposite direction. You can keep that going, or for extra challenge, both heels can raise up as we inhale and rotate. They both go down as we exhale through center. Inhale, both heels up as we rotate. Exhale through center. Let's go for 2 more here. Inhaling as we rotate, imprinting the heels down with intention. Inhale to rotate. Exhale back through center. Your arms should really be fatigued. We're holding and breathing. Arms should be sincerely fatigued because we are really imprinting in on that yoga block the whole time. Keep that intention. Yoga block floats overhead. Elbows are bent a lot as both heels raise. This is an inhale. Exhale, your bones go through the floor as your muscle pants draw up around the waistline, imprinting in on that yoga block. We're inhaling as we pick both heels up. Femur bones sink deeply into the pelvis. Exhale as we lower down and the heels lower through the floor. Again, inhale as we bring it up. Navel up and in between the shoulder blades. Exhale as we bring it down. Last one. Inhale. Bring the heels up, bring the yoga block up, hold and breathe for 6. Get a little bit lower through the pelvis, broadening those sitting bones. For 4, navel up and in. For 2, with intention, friends, heels melt down through the floor, muscle pants draw all the way up. All right, let's go ahead and take care of that hip dip sequence, standing on our left foot. So again, your books or your yoga block are going to be a spacer below you. Step onto the yoga block with the left foot. All 5 toes shine straight forward. We're going to step onto the block and flex the right foot, aiming to keep the belt line level and trying not to dump into that standing hip. Inner thigh comes up alongside the spine and out the crown of the head. Here we go. We're rolling the pelvis over the stable femur head, and then we're bringing it back up. You can always touch onto something nearby to assist you with your balance. And then we're going to inhale, bring it back up. I'd like you to think about that inner thigh on the right leg coming up alongside the spine, and that's going to level out the belt line. You can also make a diagonal connection. Right inner thigh to the left waistline, drawing you up at a diagonal. So you can kind of do it either way or both. As we bring it down and up, we're flexing that right foot a lot. I'll show you from the profile. Keep working. As that right foot reaches down, the goal is not to touch the floor. That's not what we're after. We're after really improving functionality through the left hip, toning and lifting the booty while we are lubricating the hip socket and making sure we're getting the most out of every move. Arms can always go up and out, and that's a great way to improve balance and increase cardio effort. Making sure, guys, keep working, making sure that we didn't dump into the backside of that left leg, right? We're thinking about a little bit of breath behind that kneecap, and we're thinking about lifting and lengthening the whole time. Let's go for 1 more, and then we're gonna take the forward bend. So go for 1 more here. Level everything out. We're coming back to level. First thing that changes is the right leg sweeps behind you. Do a quick check here, guys. Are you having the right leg outbound like this? If you want to find the inner thigh, make sure it's close to the seam of your pants. So that's gonna help you activate the inner thigh and the opposite waistline. Once you've got that connection happening, you can bring the arms up and out or hold onto a wall near you. Bend the standing leg a lot. Bend your right knee a lot. Hold and breathe. Now we're simply gonna lower and raise. Navel is up and in. Low back is long. So we don't wanna bow forward so far that we spill the abdominals and shorten the low back. Lengthen the low back, working deeply from the inner thigh, the glutes, the hammies, glute med, quads, all the way through the core. We're stabilizing everything with the deep abdominals. Last thing here, isometric hold. Last 6, breathing, finding your length. Can you get a little bit lower in that forward bend? Lengthening the spine for 2. And with control, inhale, bring it all the way up. All right, you guys, let's come onto our side. You're gonna be on your books or your yoga block. We're going into that sideline sequence. So this time, our right hip is on the yoga block, and we're gonna have our right forearm down on the floor. First thing that happens, we're gonna stack our body up. We're gonna stack the body nice and long, and we're gonna reach the left arm up towards the sky if that is accessible to you. Check that your right ribs didn't drop to the floor and that your head is in line with your spine. Scissors first this side. Upper inner thighs are scissoring apart as if they were literally the top of a pair of scissors. Scissors open from the screw at the top, not from the sharp tips at the end. So your legs are a pair of scissors, and that is where we are initiating the movement. The hips are not invited to move. The pelvis is not invited to rock forward and back like this. You should really feel the bone below you on that bottom right hip. That's called your greater trochanter. So you should feel that bone really imprinting into the yoga block or the books, whatever you got. Let's go for 2 more here, then we're gonna go into that double leg lift. Really reach the inner thighs long and stack the legs up. So this is our start position. We're not starting down here. This is our start position. Here we go. Without dropping the bottom ribs, we're gonna float the legs long and they reach up just a tiny bit. It's not a huge range of movement. It's the inner thighs, outer thighs, working with the deep abdominals to lengthen, and the core is working to stabilize the pelvis so that we're not rocking and rolling. Keep your head in line with the spine. You can always gaze towards the floor if it becomes aggressive on your neck. Think about lifting off the forearm and the shoulder. Let's go for 3. This is 2. And this is gonna be our last one. With control, bring the arm and the legs down. Okay guys, let's go into that mermaid leg sweep with the progression. We're gonna sit the right hip on the books or the yoga block. So kind of depending on your height and what's comfortable for you, you can kind of just shift that block around. I like it at a little bit of an angle, but do what works for you. We're gonna have the right foot forward, right shin forward on the ground, okay? Once we're there, we are going to hover the left leg off of the floor. Check in that the right leg is imprinting down. It's gonna help stabilize you. And also make sure you're not leaning too far off to the right. Here we go. Couple times with the leg bent. We're gonna swivel the femur head through the pelvis. The left sitting bone lowers down. And then we're gonna unwind. Good. That right knee on this side really wants to pop up on me. So just fight for your best experience, the best results you can get today in this orientation. Keep working. We're gonna add that progression. So now on this time, we're gonna inhale as we extend the leg long in front of us. The sitting bone lowers down. Exhale as you bring it back. If that's not for you, keep the leg bent. Do what works for you today. Arms can always come up and out the whole time. And if you're feeling real fancy, you can always grab dumbbells. I've got mine close by, but notice I didn't manage to grab them. So do whatever works for you guys. We're gonna exhale as we sweep it back. This is my sticky hip. So I'm feeling lots of kind of clicks and sticky spots in there. So I'm really trying to visualize that femur head gliding through and kind of helping to massage out those sticky places, and it helps me to finish with strength. Let's go for 1 more forward, and then we're gonna hold it back for that little side bending experience. Inhale as we lengthen forward, exhale as we bring it back. hold. All right, we want to keep the knee, shin, and toes up off the floor. We're going to bring the right hand down very gently. Exhale as we arc over. Inhale, use your abdominals to bring you back up. Exhale, light touch on the floor. Inhale, make sure we're not pushing up from the ground, we're lifting from the sky. Exhale, finding lots of openness on the left ribs and lots of length on the right waistline. Inhale as we bring it up. Let's go for 2 more here. Exhale as we arc. Inhale, base of the ribs is returning you upright. Last one. Exhale as you arc. Inhale as we bring it up, and go ahead and allow the left leg to come back down to the floor. All right, we're gonna go into a bridge sequence, and I'd like this yoga block or your books under 1 foot at a time. We're gonna start with it under the right foot so that we can get our bridge on with a little unleveling. It amps up the challenge and really increases the focus one side to the other. So find your feet still next to each other, parallel, all 10 toes shining straight forward. From here, I'm going to ask you to bring your arms into the mat below you to activate the middle back. We're going to weight both feet heavily into the floor, all 4 corners of the feet. Straight away, you should feel hamstrings and glutes fire up. Keeping the arms imprinting into the floor, I'm going to ask you to roll the tailbone under you as we pick it up in articulation today. That's a fancy way of saying rounding all the way up to a flat back at the top. Hold. Do you feel how that right glute and glute med are really jumping in because we're up on that yoga block? Now we're melting from behind the heart, lengthening, tractioning out the spine. You can think about spaces between the vertebra being set down rather than the bones themselves. Extra challenge, you can bring your hands up and out. Roll the tailbone under first. Turn the gear wheels of the spine as you rise all the way to the top, making sure we're stopping at the shoulders and not loading into the neck. Soles of the feet are very active. We're rolling down now from behind the heart. Make sure both soles of both feet are really melting into the floor below you. Tailbone first, guys. Find lots of length as we reach up. Both knees are reaching through the wall ahead of you. Stopping at the shoulders. Front side of the hips are open. Melting from behind the heart. Keep your booty up. Melt from behind the heart as we lower down. We're going to go for 1 more of these, gang. Inhale as we lengthen. Roll the tailbone under. Unfurl the spine all the way to the top. Hold and breathe. I want you to make sure you're recruiting your glutes. Do not get only a hamstring cramp. Recruit your glutes. That will get you through. Here we go. Flat back, no curve to the spine. We're going to crease at the hips to lower the pelvis down 2 inches. And then we're going to use the glutes to send it right back up. And go ahead and crease at the front side of the hips, keeping a flat back. We're not rolling down here. And lift it back up. 2 more. Crease at the hips. And bring it back up. Last one. Crease at the hips, and bring it back up. We're going to roll down from behind the heart all the way long, rolling down from behind the heart as we lengthen the spine all the way back to the floor. All right, guys, let's go ahead and go into a 4-point kneel position with the yoga block if you have it. If you've got the books, we're not going to use it in this position. We're going to use it as a spacer again, so if you have a ball instead of the yoga block, that's a good choice too. So the yoga block goes more like a Pez candy. It goes the long way in between the thighs. Hands come wide onto the mat. We're going to flip the toes under straight away. And I want you to really think about the legs being invited off the floor by the inner thighs and the deep abdominals today. So if you're feeling a gripping through the waistline, that means you're not getting to the depth of the work that we'd like to find together. So let's go ahead and inhale. Lengthen the tailbone from the crown of the head. We're going to exhale. Think about those inner thighs talking to the suspender muscles, your psoas, to float the legs up off the floor. Hold and breathe. See if you can find that even more deeply. If you're feeling the quads grip, you can set the knees down. Refocus. Literally visualize it in your mind. The inner thighs talking to the deep abdominals, the psoas, to pick the knees up. Set them back down. Let's go again. Collarbones are wide. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale, use the abs to invite the legs into the pelvis up off the floor, holding and breathing. Think about the upper inner arms spiraling forward. Think about all that breath, lengthening the spine the whole time. Can you bring your knees a little bit lower? Last 3, 2, glass kneecaps, gently set them down. Let's go again. Collarbones go wide. Lengthen the spine on the inhale. Upper inner arms spiral just a tiny touch forward. Exhale, picking up the knees. We're thinking about the femur head sinking more deeply into the pelvis. Holding and breathing for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and glass kneecaps. Gently set it down. All right, gang, let's go ahead and get that little bridge happening on the other side. So now if you have the books, they're back in action, or the yoga block is going to go under your left foot. So we're going to bring the arms to our sides to start with. Get your feet in alignment with each other, all 10 toes shining straight forward. First thing we're going to do, we're going to roll that tailbone under. You should feel deep toning through the abdomen. We're going to lengthen and lift, coming all the way up to the top. Make sure there's no crease at the front side of the hips. Now we're melting down from behind the heart, lengthening to lower. Unfurl, unwind into neutral. Tailbone goes heavy into the floor. Tailbone rolls away from us as the pubic bone comes towards your nose, picking up off the floor with length. Try not to crowd and shorten the front side of the body. Melting from behind the heart, lengthening to lower. Try to let your booty stay up as long as you can. Extra challenge. Your arms can come up and out, not required. Roll the tailbone away from you, lengthening up, opening the crease at the front side of the hips. Melt from behind the heart, really reach and find that space in between the vertebrae. We've got one more full range of movement. Here we go. We're going to hold it at the top. Reach the pubic bone towards the nose, lengthening and lifting. Really reach the kneecaps away from your pelvis. Hold at the top. We're not going to roll under. We're going to stay in a flat back. Crease at the front of the hips as you lower down. Recruit the glutes. Send your body back up into the top of your bridge. Find equal weight across the soles of your feet. Did you lose that connection? Find that connection again. That's really going to help you activate inner thighs, outer thighs, hamstrings, glutes, everything working together with the core. Really crease at the hips and bring it back up. We're going to go for one more, then roll down. Hold it all the way at the top. Keep the booty up. We're going to melt from behind the heart, thinking about tractioning the spine down as we lengthen and lower all the way to the floor. Unwind. All right, guys, last thing today, we're going to go into a little plank with the downhill ski. So lose your props. We're going to be on our hands, and it's just your body for the last thing before we stretch. Okay, so we're going to have our hands wide on the mat. Go ahead and step into your best plank. We're going to go for 5, for 4, for 3, for 2 with control. For 5, we're going into a little swivel, downhill ski. 4, 3, 2, here we go. We're gonna inhale, 5, back to the plank. 4, 3, 2, exhale, tipping the other direction. 5, 4, 3, 2, inhale, back to the plank for 4, 3, 2, swivel other direction. Exhale, crease at the hips for 3, 2, here we go. We're inhaling to lengthen back to the plank. Find your breath nice and slow. Find the movement, creasing at the hips for 4, for 3, for 2, here we go. Back to plank for 4, 3, 2, pick up the pace. Exhale for 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 3, 2, 1. Faster a little bit. Last 2, reaching forward. This is 2, reaching forward. This is our last one to the left. Inhale, bring it forward. Last one to the right. Hold your final plank for 6, 5. It hurts less if you smile. Last 3, 2, and sink back into a downward facing dog. Really allow the chest to drop forward. Open the feet so that we are about 4 inches apart parallel. Hold and breathe here. And we can go ahead and soften the right knee, really stretch through the back side of the left leg. Both legs are straight. We're going to soften the left knee. Good. Bring the knees down. We're going to go into a little camel pose, or a half camel pose rather. We're going to take your right hand. You can come to your hip, to the back side of your thigh, or for the most challenge, you can go all the way to your heel. But what we're going to do is bring the left arm up and overhead. So you can choose if it's a more modest reach back, pay attention to your low back. You can also go to the thigh if that feels okay to you. You can try it all the way to the heel, but we're just holding a nice openness through the spine, finding length in the back body even as we arc. And go ahead and rise up. Let's take the other side. So again, you can go onto your hip, right arm comes up and over. If that feels good to you, stay here. If you want more depth, you can go onto your thigh, see how that feels for your body. Or you can go all the way down to the heel. It's entirely up to you. Opening the front side of the hips, extending through the spine, opening through the waistline.